live Flotsam actual play that we're recording. Flotsam is currently kickstarting at the moment, so you might want to head over there and back it if you like what you see here. But otherwise, I'm Becky Anderson. I'm just going to introduce my other two players. Simon, do you want to go first?
I'm Simon.
And I'm Issa Wills.
Thank you very much, guys. So as I said, that we are playtesting, or not playtesting, but actual play of Flotsam right now. And one of the things that Flotsam has is it has quick start scenarios, so you can get into the action really easily. And so we're going to be playing the scenario, The Grey Plague. The story is set on the remote belt station 4 on the edge of a mineral-rich asteroid belt. So the nearest planet is Alexia, a verdant and wealthy world that consumes most of the minerals that are mined in the belt and whose people run the station. A terrible disease is sweeping through the below, and in response, the above has imposed a quarantine. Nobody is able to enter or leave. Packages of aid and food are periodically being dropped in, but they are not enough. So that is the setup, and we have got some playbooks and characters and situations that have been designed and tweaked very slightly to work in that scenario. So, as with all of Josh's games, we start with a teaching guide. So this is something that will happen in a new game, or if you've got new players, this is text which is in the game that we're going to go through, which is going to help us all learn the game as we go. I will start. Flotsam is a game about outcasts, misfits, and renegades living in the belly of a space station. We collectively imagine and describe what's happening in the fictional game world, and specifically we'll focus on the everyday lives and relationships of the main characters. We will sometimes interrupt their lives with danger and strange events, but keeping it to a small scale so we don't distract too much from that main focus on relationships. Each of us is going to control one primary character and explore their life and relationships, but we'll also control the situation. That's a constellation of threats and problems which we'll use to complicate the lives of the primary characters. There are some rules, and we will get to those when we need them, but mostly we're just going to describe and narrate whatever occurs to us, one little step at a time, or we'll talk in character, responding to what has already been described and narrated. We're going to do this without lots of planning or thought, and we're not trying to be cool or clever or push a story. We're just inventing stuff that feels right to us. We're going to often pick up things that other people have invented and use that or build on it as well. So, Simon, do you want to take the next chunk?
The next chunk in grey.
We're using a quick start scenario bit.
We're using a quick start scenario, which means we get pre-generated characters and situations instead of making them ourselves. We'll start by choosing our primary characters. Your primary character is the main character you'll be playing in the game. The game as a whole is focused on relationships between the primary characters. This means it's important to create a character who feels human, who feels real and human, who the other characters can relate to and connect with. Their relationships needn't be all happy and problem-free, of course. Primary characters are most interesting when they start out flawed and imperfect, with relationships that can develop over time. That's where the meat of play is. Hand out the scenario playbooks. Take turns to read out the italicized intro text at the top, then choose a playbook each, which we have already done.
Yeah, so should we go through and read out the italicized text at the top of each of the playbooks we've chosen? I think that's going to, because people know this is a scenario, that's going to help them understand a bit more about where the story might go. So should we take it in the order that they are in the scenario pack? So that's page 2 is Fisher, and I think, Issa, have you taken Fisher?
I have indeed, yeah. So I'll read out the italicized text now. You worked as a doctor to rich patrons in the above, but an accident killed one of your patients and your business collapsed. In no time, you were bankrupt and starving. Now you make your living stealing stuff for a network of criminals called the Silent Market. It isn't nice work, but it's the only game in town.
Okay, the next one down is the Hammer, which is me. So I was a law enforcer in the above, but what I saw there disgusted me. There is no justice up there, only the whims of the powerful. So I came down here and took on the task of making a little justice down in the dark. My people operate an unofficial police force patrolling a territory of humble residences, shops and stalls. Next one's you, Simon.
And I am Babel, the voice. Your mother died soon after you arrived here as a child, and you were taken in by the Whisperers, a ragtag band of religious folk, mystics and hangers-on. You've grown up with them, and they've accepted you as their leader. They're good people, but prone to irrationality, infighting, and emotional outbursts.
Okay, cool.
So back to the quick start guide. We're now going to choose our situations. A situation is a broad constellation of threats and problems linked by a theme. It's a chunk of the fictional world that one person focuses on in addition to their primary character. Each of us will choose one situation that we have main responsibility for. We'll focus on breathing life into that situation when we're not playing our primary character. Hand out the scenario situations. Take turns to read out the italicized intro text at the top, then choose a situation each. Everyone reads out the text immediately below the intro text, which describes one or two aspects of the situation that are important to the scenario.
Cool. Well, I think community on page 7 is our starting point. And Issa, did you take community?
I think I did, yeah. Well, I have now. The below is filled to the brim with all kinds of people, outcasts and criminals, paupers and kingpins, scroungers and scrappers and hustlers, all living their lives and struggling to survive. Even down here, social divisions exist that decide each person's social standing, who gets what, and who can talk to whom. Sometimes these divisions create rivalries, distrust, or even hatred. The below has been around for a long time, and it has developed its own ways, which may look unusual or even bizarre to outsiders.
Do you just want to read those other 2 paragraphs underneath that as well, on that side?
Yes, sure.
About the Forsaken and the Whispers, I think.
Cool, yes. So the Forsaken are a ragtag community of people united by one thing. They all have visible mutations, which carries an automatic sentence of deportation from the station. Lack of ready transport has led the backlog and the Forsaken huddle outside the port waiting for their fate. They are widely reviled and have been blamed for the Grey Plague. And the Whispers are a chaotic and divided band of religious people, mystics and hangers-on. They are currently camped outside the Barter's place, demanding supplies for the Forsaken. So there are 2 groups in the community.
So, Simon, I think you've taken poverty, haven't you?
I have. Food, clean water, work, education, law and order, hope. They're all in short supply, and sometimes lack of them stretches individuals and society to breaking point. It isn't possible for everyone to get what they need, and many people go without day after day. Everyday life is built around fulfilling these basic needs. The below hums with activity of people scraping and scrounging and hustling to get by. But it still isn't enough. Even so, the human spirit finds ways to survive and prosper despite it all. The Grey Plague. The Grey Plague is sweeping through the below. It has killed dozens, and together with the resulting quarantine has shut down much of the essential economic functions of the below. Basic needs are going unmet, and the medicine needed to soothe the symptoms of the plague is in short supply.
And I have taken the gangs. So, down in the below, the law and order of the society above is rarely enforced. In its place, those who hoard resources and weaponry make their own rules. These gangs are a law unto themselves. Some fancy themselves a bastion of civilization in the below, while others are unashamedly criminal. It is dangerous to deal with the gangs, and it may also be unavoidable. The gangs also provide a sense of hope. Aspiring young below folk can find belonging, a sense of purpose, status, and even a career in the arms of a gang. And for many, the gang is like a family, only a lot more violent. The Silent Market are the main gang in the below. They have a very obvious core group of serious criminals who run the show, but a great many people secretly owe them fealty. They make money trading illicit and stolen goods and through a widespread protection racket. The market probably has the resources to weather the Grey Plague, and perhaps they could solve it if they chose to, though it might be more lucrative to profit from other people's misfortune. Okay. Nasty business. So I think we're back to page 17 now on the teaching guide. Issa, if you want to take that section.
Sure. Now let's talk about how we play through the scene. It's a good idea to look at the rule summary sheet while we talk this through. Most of the time, we just say what we think would happen. Situation players describe places and people and say what those people say and do. People playing their primary say what they are saying and doing. We respond to each other and the game moves forward. The rules kick in two circumstances: when we want to bring out in or advance threats to our primary characters, see flowchart 1, or we want our primary characters to take action that's risky or challenging, see flowchart 2. Start by looking at flowchart 1, which is labeled threats and weaknesses. This shows how we make bad stuff happen that the primary characters are going to like. If you're playing your situation, you'll introduce and develop potential threats. Anything that looks like it might harm a primary character or their allies or their interests. When you want to introduce a threat, just like anything else in the game, you have to ask a question to the specific other character. We don't say the skeeviest, most corrupt establishment in the below is Glassport, or say, hey, Karen, what's the skeeviest, most corrupt establishment in the below? Then, when you decide to advance a threat, you always do it gradually, leaving the primary characters the chance to intervene. So we say, you walk into Glassport immediately, get jumped by 3 scary-looking goons, and say, there's these 3 scary-looking goons standing by the bar, and as you enter, they all turn to look at you and reach for their weapons. What do you do? After that, if they don't intervene, or if they do, but their action proves ineffective, then the threat manifests, and we can directly threaten a primary character. That's when the goons jump you.
Cool. So we will we'll ramp threats up in stages. Cool, got it. I'll do the next chunk. So there's 3 steps. Create a threat by asking a question, develop it, but leave space for the primary characters to intervene, and then manifest that threat if they don't. The sequence repeats itself. So the goons have jumped you, now what do you do? If you don't act, or if your action fails, maybe one of them shoots you. You're bleeding, now what do you do? A threat can also manifest if a primary character activates one of their weaknesses. When you activate a weakness, you get a token. You can spend tokens later to power your primary strengths. We'll talk about that later. But for now, just know that activating a weakness means that one of the other players is going to jump straight into manifesting a threat without giving you a chance to intervene. Simon, do you want to go for the next chunk?
Yeah. Okay, now let's look at flowchart 2, which is labeled complications and strengths. This shows what happens when primary characters take risky or challenging actions. Notice how it only happens if the action is risky or challenging. That means most of the time we just describe what our primary characters do and the rules aren't needed at all. But if someone else thinks your actions are risky or challenging, they can add complications, which might mean the character's actions are less effective or costly or even make things worse. The list of potential complications is on your situation sheet on the bottom right-hand side. That's where strengths come in. At any time, you can say how you're using your strength to tackle an emerging threat or get stuff done, and spend a token. When you do, not only can nobody introduce any complications they already mentioned in relation to the current action are cancelled. They don't happen at all. You get full control over what happens and can describe how you get what you want free of outside interference.
You also have scrutiny questions on your playbook. You can ask them at any time you like, but the person responding can add complications if they think it would be risky or challenging to get the answer, just like normal. They have to answer honestly, though. You can always spend a token to get a full and helpful. You Yeah, blah. You can always spend a token to get a full and helpful answer. Oh dear. So that's 3 rules for when you're playing your primary. Activating a weakness gains you a token and causes a threat to manifest without warning. Doing something risky or challenging means anyone can add complications to your action, and spending a token while using strength cancels any complications added to your action or gets you a straight answer when asking a scrutiny question. That's all the rules that limit our actions during a scene. Is everyone okay with that? Are there any questions?
Okay, there is one last rule, says the teaching guide. And this one's pretty simple. It's called objecting. Like in a courtroom drama, when someone shouts objection, anytime someone describes or narrates something that you think doesn't make sense or breaks the rules or contradicts something we've already established or just feels wrong for the game, you can say objection. There's a simple process for resolving objections, and we'll go through that when we come to it. Before we jump into framing our first scene, I just wanted to check in and say I think that we're going to be playing with the X card. Is that okay with you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll put a link down below to the X card for anybody who wants a bit more information about that, but it's basically a safety mechanic. So, as I'm facilitating, I will read the next chunk. It's time to frame our first scene, and we'll do this by asking someone a question about their primary character's everyday life. Something specific, like where do you go to relax, or how do you make a living? And instead of just coming straight out and answering the question, instead we'll frame a scene and show how it happens. Or, because we're playing a scenario, and we've got some interesting situations and relationships and things already set up, we might want to just dive straight into an obvious scene between 2 of our characters, depending on how we feel. Does everybody just want to take kind of 30 seconds to review their character sheets and see if there's an obvious scene that you want to frame first?
Yep, sure.
You might find it particularly helpful that there's a situation you are sort of halfway in the middle of, on the bottom of your sheet and to the left-hand side, for the thing that's currently going on. So I was going to suggest that since my character Hammer is a law enforcer, and we're in a situation where your gang, Babel, I think it's right, I'm right in saying, are camped outside the local bar, probably on the cusp of causing trouble.
They're not. They're only causing trouble when you label them as a gang.
My character definitely labels you a lot of troublemakers as a gang. All the time, any opportunity I get. So I'm quite happy to frame a scene where I bust in and start causing trouble with that lot. Unless there's something else that somebody else wants to do first.
No, happy
No,
to go along for that ride.
Were you going to say something, Simon?
No. I was just going to agree with you. I think that's a good place to start.
Cool. We are still actually mid-teaching guide, so we're going to do a couple of scenes, but then the teaching guide will probably interrupt and get us to just pause briefly and run through some mechanics. So just kind of watch out for that happening. We've got to watch out for somebody doing something risky or challenging, and when that happens, we'll take a pause and get back to the teaching guide. But for now, we're framing a scene. So, Simon, since your gang are camped outside Barter's place, which is the kind of the local, I don't know, bar around here, isn't it? Do you want to tell us a bit more about what they're doing there?
They're not doing that much, which is probably the problem for patrons of the bar, that very passive aggressive. So just getting in the way with sheer number of bodies, and imagine being on the tube if people were a little bit more difficult for not moving out of the way when people want to get through.
And is Babel there with them?
Babel is there, yes. She casts an eye over them quite often, as there has been some sort of trouble previously with Hammer's unsanctioned motley group of law enforcers.
Harsh. Okay. So I think that the scene will probably open with your gang quietly but passive aggressively standing outside and making it just that a little bit too hard for the patrons to enter, and possibly for the patrons who are already there to leave. At which point Hammer will come through the crowd. Hammer is quite a tall, athletic, and strongly built woman. I'm thinking sort of Brienne of Tarth sort of size and physique, and wearing what could, if you sort of squinted, I think look like sort of a police SWAT uniform, but this is the below, and there isn't really a uniform, so it's more just like the nicer end of black combat trousers, and the least smashed up kind of body armor that they can find around here, and that's something probably kind of which is a little bit chipped in places and that sort of thing. And her gang dress similarly in style, so that from a distance there's this kind of quite imposing look of kind of all black security guards, but the reality is that when you get closer and you really look at it, it looks like anything else in the down below, that it's it's mismatched and it's frayed and it's held together with duct tape. I don't think that she'll cause a massive scene yet, but she'll probably try to catch your eye. Her people are standing back.
Babel's just with some of her closer sort of confidants, just by the entrance, trying not to attract too much attention, but you can see that most of the whispers they will look over, sort of waiting for some kind of sign from that sort of little group.
If Hammer's going to try and catch Babel's eye, but if Babel is avoiding Hammer's gaze, then Hammer will start to just kind of gently move forwards to Babel's position. And when I say gently, I mean sort of they're not striding through the crowd expecting people to part for them. They're just kind of, I'm just in the crowd, I'm just moving around you, moving around these people. Just need to have a conversation with that person over there in a very de-escalated sort of fashion. Are you going to say anything, or are you going to let her get right up in your face? I mean, closer to you. Obviously, I don't mean in your face yet.
Babel holds your look for a moment, so long enough for you to know that she's recognized that there's some intent or purpose about you, but doesn't go to speak to you. But you do see a slight smile crease her face.
I think that Hammer's gang are going to get a little antsy that they're all tooled up. They're expecting a fight, and they're in that kind of space of waiting, and the situation feeling more and more charged to them, even if nobody else has particularly noticed. So Hammer will say, Babel, can we have a word?
Of course, in private or here.
I'm happy either way. I really just came to ask you if you and your people wouldn't mind moving on for a bit. I'm getting complaints.
You're not the only one that's been getting complaints. The way that you handled the situation previously has caused some discomfort amongst my group.
Why are they taking it out on Barter's bar then?
We're not taking it out on Barter's bar.
Nobody can get in or out. I've got thirsty miners here who want drinks, and you're in their way.
We are here for a reason, and until Barter provides what she has, I know that she has, then we will move on. But this is peaceful.
It is peaceful. Your people are peacefully stopping thirsty miners getting to their beer. I appreciate you probably think that's fine, but I've got a load of people who are about to get off shift who are going to come over here and are going to want to drink, and if they can't get through, they're not going to be peaceful for much longer. I'm asking you, for your own safety, please go.
What about the safety of the Forsaken? The supplies that Barter has would be used well if we could take some supplies to them and tend the sick. That's all that we're doing here, and you know that.
Yeah, I completely understand. You know, I would be on your side if it wasn't for the fact that there's going to be a riot any second and you're going to be in the middle of it.
The only if you push, we can both work together on this.
I'm here to protect your people. And the best way of doing that is by moving them on. We can have a discussion somewhere else.
I've tried to quell the bad blood that you were rough last time with them. You pushed them over the edge to react.
Look, we're standing here. We're not doing anything. Just asking you politely to move before there's trouble.
I will see what I can do.
Please.
Of course. After you speak to Barter about the supplies.
What do you expect me to say to Barter? I can't force her to do anything. She's not doing anything illegal.
She's doing something immoral. And ultimately, that's what you're here to stop, is it not?
I'm here for justice. And if you want to
Then
bring
we are
her
on the
to the
same
negotiating table, if you want to bring her
Justice.
to the negotiating table, I'll mediate that for you or find someone else to. But you're not. You're standing in front of her bar, waiting to start a riot.
We are not trying to start a riot. You've just said yourself that you're here for justice, and justice for the Forsaken would be supplies, much needed supplies. There are children that are sick. It's not just, they're not detritus. You have much of a moral obligation to look after them as you do people like Barter and anyone else that's in a position of power. When you take on this position, you're responsible for all of this, unless you can't handle it.
Look, I'm perfectly capable of handling my position. And what my position is right now, right here, right now, is stopping a fight right here, right now. I agree with you. I think that the Forsaken needs something to... They need something. They need a lot of things. And somebody should be doing something about it. But what you're doing right now, right here, that's not going to fix things. That's just going to lead more people getting beaten up.
only if you lose control over your subordinates.
My subordinates are not here for a fight.
Then why are they all geared up as if they are? Look at them. They're itching. They're itching for it.
Look, I appreciate that some of my people can be a bit trigger happy, but they are geared up because in 10 minutes, a shift is going to end and a bunch of people who have been working for 12 hours straight down the mines are going to be here expecting a drink.
Do you see a difference between yourself and the silent market? Because right now I don't.
Look, you can insult me all you like. I am really just here to stop people getting hurt. Or at the very least, I'm here to hurt people a small amount to stop them getting hurt a much bigger amount. So are you going to go, or am I going to start arresting people, or am I just going to have my people stand in the way when bottles start getting thrown?
Will you let me speak to them and not pressure?
You got, where are we? 9.5 minutes. Go for your life.
Babel sort of finds sort of like a sort of prominent part that she can sort of just push herself up to, and some of the people that are with her sort of help her sort of get into position, and sort of, she doesn't really speak, but as everyone was kind of watching and waiting for any kind of sign or action, sort of everyone sort of silently turns around to look expectantly. We've been asked to move on. However, Hammer has promised that justice will be served, justice for the Forsaken. She has promised that she will facilitate a discussion with Barter to get the supplies that we need. So please do not just vacate the area. Hammer and I will now go and speak to Barter, and I will be back shortly. I think we can all agree and thank Hammer and her troops for this generous action.
So Issa, I'm just gonna pause there because I think Issa, your community in charge of the community situation, and that includes the Whisperers, doesn't it? The Whispers.
It does indeed, yes.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a bit more about? You didn't spend any tokens then, did you, Babel? So it seems to me that now might be the time to think about complications from Issa's situation. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's very fair.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the teaching guide because we told us to pause as soon as we got the opportunity to do something risky or challenging. Okay, all right. Babel, what even did you do, Babel? You sort of told your ragtag gang that I was there to sort something else out in front of my gang who know I'm not there to sort that thing out. Is that right? Is that a fair characterization?
I think that's a fair assessment.
Well, I'm going to declare that is risky and or challenging. So this is a reminder that whenever someone does something we think is risky or challenging, it gives all of us the opportunity to add a complication, which means we just pause the game and narrate something, which means that they can't just do it without difficulty. It's up to us to decide what's risky or challenging individually. So complications can stop an action from having a full effect, impose a cost to succeed, or add an unexpected consequence. If you are fleeing from security agents, I might say, sure, you can escape from them, but you'll have to leave your backpack behind. Or you can't outrun them for long, but you beat them to Pop's Tavern and take shelter there if you want. There's a full list of complications on your situation sheet. By the way, we don't always have to sit there and take it when someone adds complications. When you're doing something that uses one of your strengths, you can spend a token to cancel all complications. You get to decide what you want and nobody can interrupt. So, Issa, is there anything really tasty on your community sheet in terms of complications that you can add here?
Just trying to think, where am I looking for complications per se? I've got situation moves.
It's the situation moves, I think. Yeah, situation moves.
Well, something like, what's the price they must pay to succeed in getting Hammer to go ahead and do what Babel wanted? I know Babel sort of called her out in the middle of the crowd, but you know, is she going to go ahead and do it?
I think that. So, did you ask your people to leave? Is that
I
right,
did,
Babel?
yes.
Yeah. See, I'm really tempted to have my people escort your people out. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna. Yeah, I'm just going to. I think that Hammer is just going to respond by saying, I think that's a very wise decision, Babel, and I completely agree. And then she'll turn and address her own people and say, if you could make sure that the Whisperers are safely escorted away from the area and don't run across any of the miners or anybody, and keep them in a situation where they are not going to be able to hurt them, get into any more trouble, and protect them, then that would be excellent. And she's saying it in quite a conciliatory way, but the kind of the eyebrow raising that she is doing to her second in command is, it's quite clear what she's communicating, which is basically she's communicating to her people, follow them out, don't let them do anything dangerous. If it looks like they're going to cause trouble, then arrest a lot of them. Better to sort it out later in the jail cells than to have a pitched battle in the street, right?
Now, just as a point of order, could I activate my weakness now?
I think you can always activate your weakness, because that's when all the fun happens, isn't it? Isn't that? I don't think that's written in the game as is, but that's certainly my interpretation, that when you activate a weakness, that's when all the fun happens. But it will mean we have to stop and read the teaching guide again.
It does.
So you're going to activate your weakness. Which weakness are you activating?
Babel's weakness is problem. Your followers are chaotic and divided.
Yes.
Well, I didn't see that coming.
Okay, right. So activated a weakness. So the first thing that happens is you get a token, I think. So take a token. That's great. This is a clear signal that you're making to everyone at the table that you are ready for trouble to come your way. If you don't really want any trouble right now, then maybe look at other ways to get a token. Every playbook includes a way you can get tokens. Have a look at our playbooks and see. But I think we're pretty clear that you want some trouble, don't you?
I do.
So say what it is that you're doing to activate your weakness. They come in two types, flaws and problems. If it's a flaw, you'll do something to expose yourself to risk or danger, or to anger or alienate someone important. If it's a problem, you don't have to take action to make yourself vulnerable unless you want to. but you can't be in a position that's entirely safe from your problem. So you then ask another player to make trouble for you. By activating your weakness, you give them and anyone else who wants to permission to directly threaten you. Enjoy.
Definitely activating the problem, not the flaw yet, which the flaw is for Babel, you need to be loved and admired.
So you're activating the problem of your gang being fragmented and...
Okay. The kind of gang that gets caught up in riots and things like that through miscommunication.
When you say gets caught up in, do you mean starts riots and that sort of thing?
They don't start, they finish them.
Issa, do you want to take over playing the gang and exploiting the weakness that that Babel has so kindly presented us both with?
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool. So how does this fragile situation just shatter in Babel's hands?
I would think probably Hammer's crew, henchmen, subordinates will probably be rough.
Oh yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. So I think it's like a spark to a bit of kindling, isn't it? It only takes one shove at the wrong person that might hit someone else by accident. that creates a bit of a bit of anxiety and frustration and anger. So I think perhaps one of your crew just pushes someone down to the ground, and someone doesn't like that. One of Babel's followers, the Whisperers, don't like that, and they begin to kick off.
Cool. So I think it's very quickly getting to pitch battle territory, with bricks being thrown through windows and punches being thrown through people and that sort of thing. What are you going to do about that, Babel?
Is the sort of the mayhem is starting to spread, and I take it that Hammer is quite close to Babel still.
Yes.
Despite the desire to build bridges, Babel's going to give you a bit of a sly grin, and she's not going to intervene. Not yet.
Okay, then my character's going to arrest yours.
It's remarkable because I don't know where they come from, but banners are everywhere all of a sudden.
It's like that rent-a-mob, isn't it? That there's just people waiting for a riot, and the second it happens, and suddenly there's a full-blown riot protest going on. You're like, where did they all come from 2 seconds ago?
Yeah, you got things like fascist written on a on a dirty banner. You've got better than the above, oppressors.
So what does Hammer do?
So I think that Hammer is going to attempt to cuff you with a pair of handcuffs, as opposed to smack you around the head, and take you off somewhere for your own safety and for probably a bit of a talking to.
Okay, that works. She doesn't resist.
Any attention is good attention, right?
There is no such thing as bad press.
No such thing as bad press. Cool. Okay. And I think in which case, Hammer's plan will be to put you in handcuffs and quietly remove you from the situation whilst her people contain the rest of the riot. so that she is going to trying to quietly exit the situation with you, to get you away to safety, but also to kind of avoid inflaming things further.
And that's when Babel starts screaming "resist" over and over again.
Let me just check what my weaknesses are. Maybe I should be activating a weakness right now. It might be nice to have a token in hand. So I've got the silent market, who hates my guts. That's my problem. Okay, so I'm going to say that I'm going to activate my problem. That this is, to all intents and purposes, a fight that's going on between my gang, who are trying to impose some sort of order and stop you guys creating trouble by the bar. You, who feel like you've got a legitimate right to protest at the bar, all fairly normal. Something kicks off, and then the renter mob. Where did the Insta protest come from? But it's here now. But I think that within the Insta protest, maybe there's some silent market people who are looking for an opportunity to give Hammer a bad day. I think since you're not in the scene, Issa, I'll pass that over to you to deal with yours. But yeah, I'm going to activate that weakness and take a token.
Great. So are you passing the reins over to me for...
Yeah, so basically what I'm giving you is some gasoline to put on the fire that Babel just started by saying that there's a third faction. The silent market is my problem. They hate my guts. They want to cause trouble for me. This is a convenient cover for them to make my life really shitty.
Yeah, and I think actually there's going to be some that are, dressed in the usual below garb, but I think there are a couple of the silent market that are dressed in similar sort of garb to your patrol. They've got the the combat trousers, the boots, face mask, or some kind of kerchief to hide them, and they're going to start getting really rough, I think, and probably start shouting things like, you're as bad as a forsaken scum, plague carriers, disease spreaders."
Who's that being shouted at? Is that being shouted at the Babel's gang, or
Babel's gang? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they're kind of pretending to be.
I got it. I'm trying to discredit me and my people.
Yeah. I'm not picking on you at all.
No, I asked for it. I activated my weakness.
That's it.
We all know how that goes down. I will say quietly in Babel's ear, things are getting really nasty. If you don't shut up, then there's going to be a lot of blood.
We've got about a minute or two before the miners finish up. They're going to be thirsty and angry and tired and generally pissed off.
And there's going to be a riot between them and the bar.
Yeah.
Sad times. Life is hard in the below.
Babel looks at you, Hammer, and if blood needs to be spilt to save others, then I'm willing to make that sacrifice. But you did this.
Very pleased to hear it, Babel. And I'm going to spend my token to knock your character out by smashing you around the head. Making sure the first blood that is spilled is yours, since you so kindly let me. Shall we call that a scene?
Yep.
You still got taken in hand, haven't you? Okay, right.
Well, that escalated.
That's what happens. Start throwing weaknesses around, and then it's all I'm surprised that nobody died. Okay. Let's move to the next bit. So somebody did something challenging and two people activated weaknesses. Now we've reached the end of the first scene, so I'm just going to read the last bit of the teaching guide out. After every scene, we're going to look back on the events of the scene to decide if any of the characters displayed their heart. What that means is they let another character see their true self or their heartfelt feelings. A character can display their heart by how they talk, through their actions, or more subtle indications. They might do it deliberately or without meaning to. So once someone displays their heart, it's up to the other characters to decide what effect it had. Did it bring them closer together? Did it push them apart? Or did it change their relationship? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then both characters get to mark their relationships on the character sheet. There is 3 little boxes on the side in the relationship bits. When the third box is marked, you get to permanently improve your character. You can also mark your weaknesses. That's a bit simpler. Did you just ask yourself, did your primary weakness cause any problems for them in the scene just gone? If you activated your weakness during the scene, the answer is likely to be yes. But your weakness can cause trouble for you without activating it, so you still get to mark it. Problems that only affect other characters don't count. And see if the special moves on your playbooks were triggered and resolve them. So we have to go through, did we display our hearts and change our relationships? Did we activate our weaknesses? And did we look at use any special moves? I think special moves are scrutiny questions for the purposes of this. So, Babel, did you display your heart?
I think yes. I think yes. Very clear indication of how she views things with Hammer there, and her true motives of using the group and getting what she wants, or trying to get what she wants.
Do we feel our relationship was changed? I think that maybe it was, in the sense that now I really don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it felt like that you were, because it felt like Babel was saying things that would have been quite persuasive to Hammer about justice and, looking out for the interests of the Forsaken and stuff. And then you kind of leveraged the fact that she was thinking like, oh yeah, maybe we could do a deal here, and I can broker some sort of thing and be some sort of arbitrator and that. And then you kind of turn the crowd on her, I think. So I think that you have changed your relationship, and she's going to be like, well, I will never trust Babel again. They are a slippery character who is only going to make my life hard from now on. So I think that we should check our relationship boxes. Reasonable?
Yeah.
And then we both activated weaknesses. I don't think any special moves or scrutiny questions or anything like that happened. So we've done our first scene. We've completed the teaching guide, and we can play scenes without a teaching guide now. It's
yay!
It's going to be amazing. So, should we do another scene? Issa, we didn't get to see anything of Fisher in that scene, so why don't we do a scene with Fisher next?
Awesome. So, do I start the scene, or is it someone that controls the situation that starts?
No, I think we can just talk between ourselves about who should be. I think it's reasonable to say that you're a focal character for the next scene.
Mm-hmm.
And since there's just been a massive riot, presumably a big fight, and you're a doctor character, I think there's probably quite a lot of opportunities for you to insert yourself in, kind of however you want, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of our relationships, I don't think there's one between Fisher and Babel, but there certainly is between Fisher and Hammer. I believe they're having a clandestine affair.
That's right. I'd be more open about it, but you're a criminal, and that's not a good look for law enforcement. Sorry.
I know, but you know, I'm a product of misfortune, so
You could just go straight.
can't do that.
You can't do that.
I guess just as a bit of background, to freestyle, I guess I think Fisher was probably more of a sort of a cosmetic surgeon in the above rather than
Oh, awesome.
and living a very opulent lifestyle, enjoyed the fruits of his labor until tragically someone died from an implant of some description, and he was cast down with the rest of you. So I guess he kind of feels that he shouldn't be here, and probably is trying to find a way to get back up, and away from this horrid place. Although he is probably in love with you, or at least in lust. So, opportunity knocks, I guess. I mean, he would have had medical training, so perhaps he was having a drink at in Barter's establishment prior to the antics of the last scene.
Well, how about when I hit Babel over the head, I drag them through Barter's bar to get them out quietly.
Yeah, sounds good.
There must be a back way out of the bar. There's always a back way out.
Always for bars.
Every bar has a back way out. Be rude
Every
not
bar
to.
should have, yeah, exactly. Every bar should have at least 5 back ways out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to burst into a bar which probably doesn't have very many patrons in it at the moment because the Whispers gang was standing outside for so long, and I'll be hauling Babel with me, and yeah, I'll see you and say, would you mind coming to the station? I've got a prisoner who needs some medical attention. And I'll nod at Babel.
It's just she's just been punched. What do you want me to do? Put a plaster on her face?
I want you to tell everybody that she's not that badly hurt.
Oh, I'm suddenly...
And I'll pay you.
Ah. Well, now you're talking my my language, Hammer. Nothing's for free down here, is it?
No, certainly not. You probably want to come out the back way with me. It's getting a bit rowdy out front.
Yeah, I noticed that, but hey, it's not my problem, is it?
No, but this is because you're on the clock and I'm paying, so take it on.
Okay. Hey. That's not part of the deal. I'm just going to like bandage her up. And
I'm getting her back to the station, and I'm not keeping her here while this is going on outside.
Oh, come on then. What I do for love, eh?
The love of cold hard cash. Don't pretend otherwise.
So yeah, he'll grab her other arm and sort of sling her over his shoulder as well, and I guess they cart poor Babel out. She doesn't look that injured.
No, I don't think she's that injured.
No.
I'd be in trouble if she was.
Indeed. So what started this off then?
Well, you've been drinking in here for a while. You must have seen the crowds gathering. Barter's pissed Babel off something rotten, and it's getting bad.
Well, she seems like she's the one that wants to solve the ills of everyone down here. Doesn't know that she's creating a lot of attitude just by doing that, though, does she?
We've got some people who are in a really bad situation, and Barda could help more than she is. I don't think that Babel's going about it the right way. Let's face it, she's probably using half of this just to increase her own reputation or give her gang something to feel good about themselves for a while. But there's bad stuff going on. Barda could make it better.
Yeah, but hey, aren't they going to ship out those mutants anyway? What does it matter?
Well, I think it matters if they don't ship them out before some of them start dying. And when they do ship them out, do you really think they're going to be taking care of them on the way over? They're more like shoveling meat into a van and driving it off. A space van.
Space fan, I like it.
Yeah, well, I'm not as well educated as you.
Yeah, I'm getting dumber by the minute down here.
Well,
Drinking
maybe
this-
if you stop drinking that shit, then
There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to do.
I'm going to start getting really offended if you say that again.
Listen, the only thing down here is violence and misery. I don't know why you bother coming down here. What are you solving? Nothing. You can go back up. And you can take me with you.
There's plenty of violence and misery up there too. At least down here people are real.
Was she real?
Babel?
Yeah.
Yeah, Babel's real. I don't like her very much, and I don't trust her.
Oh, but she's real.
Not pretending to be something that she isn't. She's a troublemaker. And she knows it. And so do I. If you really hate it that down here that much, then why don't you try and get somebody to get you passage back up?
I am.
You're not dealing with the silent market, are you?
Well, we've all got to do what we've got to do. There's not a great deal of money down here for someone that needs cosmetic surgery, is there?
Yeah, but there's plenty of people who need something that's not cosmetic.
I can't even remember how to do half that shit.
Well, you could be doing really well for yourself if you started digging bullets out of people. You could do well enough that you wouldn't need the silent market. They're really dangerous.
Yeah, it's too late now.
What have you done? What have you done?
Let's talk about it tomorrow. It's fine.
You carry on like this when we're not going to have too many tomorrows. Or you're not anyway.
Well, if you come out and let people know that we've got something together, then maybe I'll stop pissing about with them. Why don't you help me go straight?
What, take you on as a police surgeon or something?
Hadn't thought of that, but hey, stranger things have happened, right? I just need to dig bullets out of holes.
Dig a few bullets out of holes, and then I'll think about it.
All right, deal.
Okay. Do you think that's a scene?
Yeah.
The end of a scene? It feels like the end of a scene.
But
Simon sounds like it was a say something.
before the end of the scene, though, I just wanted to ask about the situation. Seeing as you're talking about both of your characters sort of being at polar opposites of the moral spectrum. And I wanted to sort of ask a few questions about poverty. So if we have a rather suspect and morally dubious character, sort of with Fisher, what has Fisher been doing, or what's kind of, we know that Barter has some supplies that Babel is after for the Forsaken, but in terms of Fisher's dealings, what kind of resources are super scarce in the Below at the moment?
Well, a cure for the Grey. So, Fisher's been messing around with the multitude of fungi that kind of grow out of dark and warm areas of the Below, and he's been experimenting with some chemicals, and he thinks he may have got something that could help out with the Grey Plague.
Cool.
Now, I don't know if Hammer would know this, but when Fisher first came down, you may have thought that he was quite sick and showing signs that he might have been infected, but that seems to have disappeared recently.
Ooh. Seems like maybe Babel should have been banging on somebody else's door.
Hey, it's not free. Babel
Did you have another?
Oh.
I was going to say, did you have another question, Babel, Simon?
No, I got some extra information. No, I think that's cool.
Cool. Okay, so shall we do the end of scene reckoning? Did anybody display their heart? I did. I'm genuinely worried that you Fisher are trucking with the silent market.
In too deep.
In too deep, man. Too deep. What about you?
Yeah, I think perhaps he wanted Hammer to. I think he wants something, a relationship, but he wants an excuse to stay, perhaps, or to leave, but perhaps together.
Oh. He's never going to leave the Below.
I know, and he's going to probably die following you to some horrible corner of the Below. So yeah, perhaps.
Okay, yeah. If you want to tick off a ticky box on your character sheet. Don't think we got to any the special move question bits, but did we touch on any weaknesses? You can tick off weaknesses without having activated them.
Now, I guess my problem that I have is that I owe a heap of money to the silent market. So
I did not know that was your problem. Oh dear.
Yeah, so that's why that's why I kind of mentioned those guys that I was working with them. So I don't know whether that's activating it or just playing it, really.
Well, we brought it in, and the silent market hate my guts. So let's just say yes on both counts.
Cool. Well, I actually, just to declare, I think it's about being honest, isn't it, in this game as well? But I think he was probably responsible for getting the cosplay silent market people to start the rabble rousing.
Oh my gosh!
He has to do it. They're going to kill him.
Hannah might kill you if she finds out first. Gosh.
I know. He's weak.
Yeah, he's weak. He's weak. Well, since we've had 2 scenes with me in, it'd probably be pretty good to do one more scene with you 2 guys and then call it a night.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So, should we just say that Babel wakes up while Fisher is not digging bullets out, but bandaging heads and disinfecting gashes.
Yeah,
Sound like a good scene? You guys okay with that?
let's do it. We're in a cell, right? It's all coming back to him, you know, a swab here.
Swapping.
So
I think it's just the two of you. Hammer will be out back filling out paperwork, and that will mean that I can play any NPCs or situation stuff as necessary.
So we're back at Hammer's makeshift facility.
Makeshift. It's a proper jail. It might look a little old school for those of you who were used to being imprisoned up in the above, but it is perfectly functional. It even has a toilet, which is cleaned out once a time or two.
Yeah. And the water looks reasonably clean as well, so you're not going to get some horrible disease.
So wipe down and disinfect those walls once a week.
So I think you feel the sting of, you know, the medicine hit the open wound that Fisher is fishing around in. There's a bit of grit in there and things like that.
Babel makes a sort of a sharp intake of breakfast as she comes to, and sort of rights herself on her elbows and sort of just backs away from you.
Relax. I'm a doctor. No, seriously, I am a doctor. That will need some stitches.
Just sort of touches the cut. That's fine. I don't need your assistance.
Well, I kind of promised someone, otherwise I'm not going to get paid. So let's just do each other a favor and let me do it.
You want to do me a favor?
Well, it depends. What's in it?
Well, you're a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
What do doctors do?
It depends on the type of doctor.
And you are?
Right now, I'm the type that kind of stitches up open wounds. What did you have in mind? Listen, I'm really not with the police. You can be as open as you want. I don't care.
Is Babel chained up at the moment?
No, it's not a dungeon.
No, but shackles.
Babel is not chained up.
Well, she goes to get up.
Just do me a favor and sit down. I need to get paid. An open wound like that, and you can contract the Great Plague seriously. Take it from someone who knows. Now, please, sit your ass down.
Fine.
Right, now please be still. So he goes to work. So how did you get this then? Sounds like, well, yeah, sounds like you had a bit of a scuffle and, yeah, causing some trouble again, probably. Isn't that right? Babel, is it?
Well, I did hear you speaking to Hannah. So you know who I am, and you know how I got it.
So, I mean, what's the deal then? Come on, you're not doing it from the goodness of your own heart. What's your angle?
There is no angle. I have a duty, as you should do. You seem to know each other quite well. Just sort of looking over you, sort of out the back where Hammer is doing the paperwork.
Yeah, I've seen the inside of this cell before, let me tell you.
Mm. You sound quite friendly with each other.
I'm a friendly type of guy. So listen, I'm going to cut to the chase because it sounds like you're not going to talk unless I talk first. I want some money. I want to get out of this shithole. Sounds like you need a doctor.
Okay. I have no money to give. If I did, I would have bought the supplies from barter.
Okay,
But
so
there are more valuable things than money.
Well, if you know how to get me upstairs, doesn't have to be money. You seem like someone who knows a lot of people.
I don't think there's anything that I can give you that you would want.
Okay, well, if there's nothing you can give me, then you're all patched
You want
up.
money?
I want a way out. If you can get me out, I can make money once I'm back up. I just need a ticket. I just need a ticket out there.
I might be able to help you.
Yeah, and then I might be able to help you.
But you leaving the below wood is not beneficial.
Well, how about... Go on. Go on. Well, listen, I might have something that's pretty valuable. A recipe, one might say. If you have the recipe, you don't need me. And you can help a lot of people.
So I'm going to interject with a question. I would like to know what Babel's thinking right now.
Babel is thinking how she can exploit this situation. She has very mixed feelings towards Fisher at the moment. All mixed feelings are actually negative, but she's thinking how that she overheard a large chunk of the conversation. She just pretended to be unconscious still.
Absolutely.
So she's just waiting to understand when she can play her hand, when it would be for the best.
And what particular areas of the conversation are the pieces that you want to capitalize on, if any?
At the moment, it's two things. So your status as a doctor, so you are thinking of you just as an object of use that interests her greatly, but also for exploiting that relationship with Hammer, because it was quite clear that there's history there. So she's She's thinking about her current predicament.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Right. Well, you're all shipshape now.
But I am at the pleasure of Hammer, so...
Well, you're going to be out soon, aren't you?
I hope so. My people can get restless at times, and without me to guide them and show them the right way, it can cause problems.
So why don't you tell me, when you get out, get yourself settled in, just let me know where you are, and we can then negotiate. We can do a deal.
Well, I kind of lied when I said that I didn't have money. We don't have that much money, but I thought that there might have been an offer that we could make barter, but they're too greedy.
Forget about barter. There's nothing that she has that I don't.
Then we should speak.
Yeah, well, let me know where you and your followers hang about.
We'll be back at Barter's quite soon.
I don't think you're going to be welcome there.
Did I just see you shaking your head, Becky?
No, it's fine.
She leans sort of a little bit closer to Fisher. You do look like you've been cast adrift. There's a sadness about you. And a weakness as well.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am sad. I'm sad I'm in this shithole. And my weakness? Yeah, there's a weakness. But once I get back upstairs, I can forget about it, can't I?
It depends. No one gets up if they don't want you up. And if you're down here, then they definitely don't want you up there.
Well, they might want me as well, mightn't they?
If you made yourself desirable, if you could bend their ear, there's only one way that you could do that down here.
And how's that?
You solve the problem that everybody is concerned about, or not concerned about, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. Well, let's meet. Not a barters. I'm not interested in going back. So can you hear that?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear that.
I was really hoping that you could.
I'm sorry. I can't believe he's still up, you poor things.
I know, he's a Nighthawk. I was really hoping that was only me that could hear that.
No, we all heard it.
Yeah, just trying desperately to ignore it. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. just let me know. Let me know when you want to meet and where, and then we can talk further. You never know who's listening. He casts a sideways look back.
Hammer is scribbling away furiously at her paperwork, seemingly oblivious to the conversation. I think that's end of scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we do displaying heart, weaknesses, etc.?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might have been reasonably protective. I mean, I guess I said that I wanted to go back up to the above, but that's going to be a recurring theme, and he probably says that to a lot of people anyway.
Say that to all the girls.
to all the girls. Yeah. Anyone that can get me out. Which is no one. So maybe not. Maybe he was a little bit guarded. I don't think he knows Barter well enough to expose himself as much.
Babel.
Sorry, Babel, not Barter.
Babel.
Apologies. Yeah.
What about you, Babel?
Yeah, I would. I saw that as very much a like kind of, and I'm not saying that Babel is a predator, but two predators or two cats meeting each other and sizing each other up.
Yeah, okay, that seems fair. So I think we were saying that nobody displayed their heart in that scene because you're both being quite cagey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But definitely not showing something unpleasant. Rather, both people that are both sort of aware of the real politic, but they haven't made that step to clearly state what they want, but they know that they're skirting around that that subject.
No,
especially with the look at looking over at Hammer.
Poor old Hammer.
Terrible person. A bully.
So betrayed by everyone around her. Did either of you really bring out your weaknesses, do you think?
No. Reckless and impulsive. I tend to play him reasonably reckless and impulsive anyway, but no, I think he was probably. I think he likes to pretend he's more reckless and impulsive than he actually is, because ultimately he answers to the. I want to say the black market, the night.
The silent market.
Silent market.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately he is their monkey, so he's trying to do everything that he can to get as much information from everyone that he can, and act kind of silly and slightly more, perhaps, desperate than he actually is. Was the way I wanted to play him, but perhaps not. That's a very long answer to say probably not. Sorry.
That's fine. It's interesting background information. Babel, what about you? Can we touch on your weaknesses?
Yes, I do. Actually, I think. So, not really sort of in terms of the problems of sort of divided and chaotic followers, but that need to be loved and admired, because I think she's very much acting like a politician and trying to put herself in that in a position of dominance, or sort of, to negotiate something that something that she wants with someone that she sees potentially as, because of his medical skills, would be useful to her and her cause, but certainly useful. So wanting to appear attractive in the sense of that, you know, she's attractive because she's got she's knowledgeable, she has power, she has a position.
Yeah,
And
cool. Definitely take that weakness.
Yep.
Ticky box. And what about scrutiny? I think scrutiny questions or moves. Did we get to that, do we think, or not? I think probably not.
We nearly for me on who might be able to help with this.
Oh, that's true. Okay, why don't you take that one then? Cool. I think probably we'll leave it there. I think we've been going for about 2 hours, and I, you know, that seems long enough, I think. Is that all right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to say, if you guys want to hang on, so we can do a bit of wrap up off air, but I'll say thank you very much for joining me, and to anybody who tuned in, thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget, the Kickstarter is still live, and you can still back it if you want to, and there'll be a link below. And now I'm going to wait for my computer to stop beach balling so I can press the stop button.
Brilliant. Thank you.